Big up my friends and my enemies. Want a ya? 501 van inside. Woman in the studio. Yaku. Sonny D. Call him a ballet. You get your leg. Roy. The drummer. What's the piano? Oh gosh. Why my window nagi ruta nuku churo. Like it away. Why my window nagi ruta nuku churo. Like it away. I need a good Nuguchi le. Toto wabana good mama. Nuguchi ni avite. Ayengu ni bugaya, nagi maganeti. Entonces, came on, need to came on, what you could have. Entonces, came on, need to came on, what you could have.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, okay, here we are now. We're getting ready for the Garifuna class. I apologize for the lateness as we had a lecture at UCLA with my wife, Carol Rollins. And so we're here now to get started, and we have Dr. Theodore Aranda waiting on the line, ready to start. So we're going to get started. Let me just do the introduction of the show, and we're ready to get started. All right, here we go. And thank you for your patience.
Garifuna American Heritage Foundation United.
Are you ready?
Presents the Clifford J. Palacio Garifuna Language and Culture Academy online. It's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern.com in the Bronx, New York, and www.radiocentroamerica.com in Los Angeles. Classes are free and for the entire family. Download the homework or handout from Facebook's Garifuna Language and Culture Academy page or from www.garifunaheritagefoundation.org. All radio programs will be recorded and archived on YouTube's GAFU channel for on-demand listening. This project is made possible in part by a grant from the Alliance for California Traditional Arts in partnership with the Walter and Elise Haas Fund and the William and Flora Hewitt and the James Irvine Foundation.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to Dr. Theodore Aranda, who is here with us tonight, all the way from Belize. So welcome, Dr. Theodore Aranda. Ida Binya, Buitugunyo.
Buitugunyo. Magadi ugati yake.
Magadina, Seremen.
Magadi ugati. Are you hearing?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, we're ready. We're ready to start, Doctor, whenever you're ready.
Okay, good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are beginning a series of lecture, and this is the first of the series. And the topic that we are going to be dealing with is mostly who the Garifuna people are, where they came from, and how they got into the Americas. That, in essence, is what we are going to be doing. And that is explained in a park that we are building here in Belize right now. And the title of that park is Africa to America Park, and it relates the history and the journey of the Garifuna people. Let's go back a little bit so that at least we can understand each other and the things that we were told when we were in school here in Belize. From long ago, from when I was a little child, and my mother and my father said the same thing to us also, that the Garifuna, that they were taught in school, and they were taught by every institution in the country of Belize. And I found the same thing in Honduras, and I find the same thing in Guatemala, and I find the same thing in Urumin. where we were told that the origin of the Garifuna people was a shipwreck during the days of slavery. I think I need to break that down a little so that at least it can be clear to you as to what they mean. What they were saying, or what they were saying, and what they're continuing to say to us, is that the Garifuna people result or come out of a shipwreck in the slave trade of 1600. What they were saying, and what they continue to say is that we, the Garifuna people, escaped or at least survived the shipwreck. That is, the ship sank or was broken up. There were two of those ships, and this was supposed to have happened in 1635, somewhere around Bekwai in Urume or St. Vincent. And from here on, I'll be using the word Urume more than I will use the word St. Vincent. They claim that those African slaves escaped and got away from the wreckage and survived. And when they survived, they eventually mixed with the Caribs and the Arawaks. And those people, the Arawaks come from the mouth of Orinoco, and the Caribs are supposed to have come from the Amazon region. So that they claim, and all the time I'm going to say to you right now, that because we are going to stay a little time on that piece because it's very important to understand. They keep saying that we, the Garifuna people, therefore, are a mix of African, a piece of Caribs, and a piece of the Arawaks. Arawaks, Carib, and the Africans. That's what they say we are. But let us take a look at some of those things, or some of the story that was given to us, and how we got some of those stories. Let's take a look at that. Well, before I continue, let me break a little. What I'm going to be speaking to you about is a research I did over roughly 20 years. It took me 20 years of analysis, of studies, research, travels, going from one place to the next, going from one book to the next, to this and that, so that I can come to the conclusion that I'm going to give you. What I am giving you now is the result of that research. In other words, these were the findings that I made. And the park that we are building, the park that we are talking about, is going to be here in Dangri, at 4 miles of the on the southern highway. And we are going to build that park to tell the story as it happened, and as we know it, and as we understand it. Now, let's get back to the shipwreck. The shipwreck simply means a boat sank or was destroyed against rocks or something like that, shoal, etc. In other words, the ship was destroyed, but the people seem to have survived. Now, when they were transporting slaves from wherever they were transporting those slaves were chained to the hull of the ship. Hull of the ship is down below in this ship. They were chained there, so that if a ship sinks, if a ship runs into a wreckage, I don't see how the British and the Englishmen and the Europeans can tell us that those people escaped when they were chained in the hull of a ship. If the ship sinks, they'll drown. If the ship breaks apart, they can't escape. But yet they want to tell us that we were able to escape, or I don't know how we got it. I mean, our ancestors, that is, as far as they were concerned, said that our ancestors got out. Now, let's go a little beyond that. This was supposed to have happened in 1635. That's roughly 400 and odd years ago. And this was way after the Garifuna people were already in the Caribbean. let's go to what Arawaks are and the Caribs are, and let's go back to the British and how the British made up that story. I'm going to read to you from a book in the part of the research that I made, and this is it. That the origin of the black Caribs, that's the way they used to call us, the origin of the black Caribs came from the British calendar of state papers of 1661 through 1668. In other words, the story comes from the British papers. The story came from the British calendar of state papers. State papers were papers that were sent to the British Archive, to the British government, telling of what happens in its colonies as well as in the rest of the world that the British ruled at that time. And this is what they said. They spoke of St. Vincent as being, at that time, all Indians and some Negroes from the loss of 2 Spanish ships in 1635. Now, that was all that was in that report that referred to the sinking of the ship and referred to the Garifuna people, or not the Garifuna people at that time. Maybe we were not yet there as far as they were concerned. And those slaves that were supposed to have escaped. So Urume or St. Vincent, as far as they were concerned, were some Indians or Arawaks as far as they were concerned, and some black people or Negroes. That's what they said. Now, from that short piece, the British spun, by that I mean they spin the story, they make up a story, they fabricate a story, they tell their own tale, they mix it, boil it, stew it, and everything else, to come up with what they claim to have been the story of the Garifuna people. And because of the fact that many of us, especially those of us who grow up within the British Empire, that is the people who were colonies of the British at one time or the other, and we are schooled under the British system and British laws. Our books were British. Some of the teachers that we had started from England, our teachers were trained in the books and in the history and the story that the British gave us. They all believed it because there is a very, very significant attitude among us from the British colonies that everything that British tells us is true. Now, when the British, therefore, have their archives are, storage of, records, books, documents. When a story comes out of the archive, everybody believes it. When a story comes out of the British library, everybody believes it, British or European library. When a story comes out of the British or European museum, we all believe it. So that when the British states that the origin of the Garifuna people was at that shipwreck, everybody believed it. Now, the British, when they started saying that, they were taking one thing in account. At that time, slavery was just beginning. I'm talking about 1635 and that area, at that time. Slavery was beginning. And the papal bulls, that is from Rome, from the papacy, from the Pope, there were documents and there were statements stating that every black man could be enslaved and should be enslaved. So therefore, if you are black, you can be enslaved by the white man. And if you escape, they can capture you, either kill you or take you back into slavery. So when that shipwreck happened, as far as the British were concerned, they were in agreement with the Pope to capture those people and send them back into slavery. So they continued calling every black man in the Caribbean an escape or a refugee slave. That was one of the things behind this story of the British, that the black people that were there in the Caribbean were escaped or refugee slaves. The thing here is that when the British got to the Caribbean, there were black people already there, but this is what we're going to explain later on. But for the moment, let's stay with me to be able to understand what I'm trying to say as far as this state paper of the British, where it states that our origin is in the shipwreck. And they have it in the museum, they have it in the library, and they have it in the archive, and they teach it to every one of us. And the people being colonialists, they were colonized the people. They believed everything that the British said. Now, the thing here is this. The British indeed compile and write their documents. Whatever they do, they write it. Whatever is good and they find it with some other people, they take it their own, they steal it, make it their own, and write about it as if it were theirs. That's one thing you must remember along this story and along this analysis that I'm giving you. The fact that if you believe everything that the British says, you are going to believe even the lies they say about you, and you are going to take it to be the truth. That's another thing that I believe we need to understand. That's where the British stand, and that's where they are. Now, let's get back to the situation of the Arawaks. The Arawaks primarily are in the Orinoco Basin. That is around the mouth of the Orinoco River and around the mouth of the Amazon River. That's where you find the Arawaks. The Carib is supposed, now, the Carib, and I use the word supposed because I'm not sure of that. The Carib is supposed to be in the jungles of Venezuela and perhaps part of what today is Brazil. That's where those people were supposed to have been. Now, the Africans were supposed to have been shipwrecked around Uruguay, way out in the Caribbean islands. Now, the mix, I don't know. But let's not fuss with that for a while because we are going to prove something else beside that. When we were told, therefore, especially those of us who were the children, the students and everything else, when we were told that we were a mix of Arawaks, and we were even told that the Garifuna language was a mixture of, some of it was African, Arawak, some of it was Carib. Because up to today, when I say today, I'm talking about 2016, and I'm talking about 17th of February. Up to today, there are still some people here in Belize and in the rest of the Caribbean area that want to believe that the Garifuna language is an Arawakan language, is an Amerindian language. As a matter of fact, they claim and they say that the women speak Arawak and the men speak Carib. Up to the point, therefore, that we believe that the Garifuna language is just a mix of those two, number one. And number two, that the language that women speak, they want to say that the Garifuna language is two languages, distinct languages. How the heck we communicate, I don't know. When I was growing up, and I am Garifun, I speak Garifun at home. I spoke Garifuna with my mother, father, and everybody else. I grew up in a community where every one of us spoke Garifuna. None of us knew what an Arawak was. None of us knew what a Carib is. Let's go a little further, and I'm going to deal with this for a while. Some time ago, in a meeting in Venezuela, I went to that meeting, and it was a meeting for the indigenous people. And when the people that were there, the people who were part of this conference, were introduced by the chairperson, there were two fellows not too far away from me, from where I sat. And they were introduced to us as Arawaks. These two are Arawaks, and they came from Guyana. That was the way they were introduced. Now, since when I got to the Arawak, to the conference, there had been this story in our mind that we are the descendants of Arawaks. And when I look at these two guys, they look exactly like the Latin Americans of today, like the Mexicans, like the Guatemalans, like the Hondurans, and what we call around here Maya or Quechua or the Amerindians of this area. They all look exactly like them. I have never, that's the Arawak side of it. Then I'm going to speak about me. I'm not saying that you have not seen or any other person has not seen. I have never ever seen a Carib. I've never seen one. The only person that I was told was a Carib is us. They called us Caribs, and they said that we were Caribs. So if they tell us, or if they tell me, if they tell us that we are Caribs, and I am black, my mother is black, father black, grandfather black, every single one of us in Hopkins is black. And if we are Caribs, then the ancestors would be black. But the Arawak that I saw was a Latin American. And what I was told about the Caribs in Venezuela, they are not just Amerindians. When I say Amerindians, just like the vast majority of people in this area here, what we call Mayas or Quechua or Kakchikel, etc. That's when we were told that they were them. There's something wrong. If my ancestors are black, then does it mean that the word Garifuna is the English word for Arawak? Is the English word for Carib? Is that what it means? So therefore, the question that we used to ask was, then the word Garifuna would mean Carib, or the word Garifuna would mean Arawak. That's what we were made to believe. So that when you start seeing all of these other people who are Arawaks and the Amerindians, etc., and they don't look like you, you start asking yourself, what was I being taught? Okay. So up to lately and up to today, the schools of Belize still want to teach our students that the women speak Arawak and the men speak Carib. And where the heck does Garifuna come into that is something for them to understand or for them to answer. And none of them can answer that question because it is not so. Or that they tell you, therefore, that the Garifuna language is a mix of Arawak and the Carib. And that's not the case. That makes absolutely no sense. I know a friend of mine, he is from Nigeria. The gentleman, the father that is the husband was, or is, from Nigeria, but from a tribe, one tribe, and I don't quite remember what this tribe was. His wife, from Nigeria also, because there are very many tribes in Nigeria, is from another tribe, but neither of them speak the language of their, She was from one language, he was from another language. And the only language that they could speak to among themselves from one to the other is English. So that is the only language that they could use at home, English. Because he doesn't understand it, she doesn't understand it. But at home, in my house, in Hopkins, wherever I go, when I go to Honduras, when I go to Guatemala, when I go to the US and I'm among Garifuna people, we all speak Garifuna. We understand each other because it's a common language. So forget this situation of it's Carib one some speak Carib and some others speak Arabic. We speak Garifuna. So that, I believe, needs to be understood. So Carib is not the English word for Garifuna, and Garifuna is not the Garifuna word for Carib. We are quite distinct and very, very different indeed. That's one section that I believe we need to get clear in our heads. Now, let's go back to the Europeans again, and let's go back to the British for a while, shortly, because I've said this, I'm just repeating. The fact that a story comes from the archive of Britain, the fact that the story comes from the Library of Britain, the fact that something comes from the Museum of Britain does not make it true. Because the British will build himself upon you, make himself look sensible, intelligent, educated, a better person, and you are just savage or something like that. That is one of the things that we have got to get out of our heads. And British history, or the British cannot, under any circumstance, write the history, nor relate the history, nor fabricate the history of the Garifuna people. It takes us to understand our history and to understand our culture. That needs to be understood. Now, the other point that I want to raise right now, this is just an introduction. When the British write and they pile up information, documents, reports, etc. in the archive, they document and they write and they report what they see or what they find. Now, what about the things that happened before the British were able to write? They call it pre-history. In other words, they call it things that happened before history was. Because of them, history starts with them, not prior to them. As if they were the first set of people on earth, and everything else depends upon them. So we have to start understanding that. When you go into books, I'm in my room, right in my office right now, and right in front of me are what we call the great books. When I was studying for my doctorate, we had to go into all of those books to study what the Europeans tell us. And the thing they did was, they call these books the great books. The great books are the thinking of the Europeans, the thinking of the English, the thinking of the French, the Spaniards, etc. And that is supposed to be the truth. And in not a single one of those books is there any reference to anything that was African. I mean, a very good thing that is. Now, nothing in that book refers to the history of the Africans or to the things that happened in Africa before the British got there. I just want to share two stories with you, and we'll settle that issue. In Zimbabwe, there is a very, very famous waterfall, the Victoria Waterfall. It's a fantastic thing to see. I have seen it, and I have been there, not just once, not just twice. It's a fantastic thing to observe and to look at. It's a huge waterfall. The British want to say that it was Livingstone, Stanley Livingstone, I think is the name of the guy, was the one who discovered it. What the heck are they talking about? Stanley Livingstone is supposed to be from England, and he's going to go to Africa, and discover something in Africa that the Africans have never seen before. What about the guys that that directed him and took him to the waterfall. They were not African, and the Europeans are going to tell you that the Livingstone, that the British discovered it. Come on, drop that nonsense. Number one. Number two, in 1492, a white European named Christopher Columbus, who lost his way, didn't know where he was going. It was the Africans who directed him to the Caribbean. He landed in the Caribbean and the Americas. But the next thing and the next story we hear, not from Columbus himself, because Columbus never said it, but the Europeans started saying that Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas. How he could discover something that others showed to him. And when he got there, there were people there already. But yet he discovered it. What the heck does discover mean? Discover means to the British is something that the British see for the first time. As a matter of fact, I hope they don't look into space and see the stars. Because when they see the stars, they'll tell you that they discovered stars. Nobody else before them had ever seen stars. That is some of the issues that we have to look at when we are looking at our story. So when we look at ourselves, that saying that we are a mix of Arabs, mixed with Caribs, mixed with African slaves, and the story was started by the Europeans, by the British, the Spaniards, French, and everything. The answer to that is, you go to mix with the nonsense. We are not any of that. We are Garifun, Garino, and that's where we are. The second part of this discussion that I need to touch tonight, of course, we start late on number one, and number two, this series, the lecture is going to be 8 weeks, so we'll have a lot of time to go into other things, but we are just starting to introduce it to you today. Now, I have told you about some of the things that the British did to us. They make up stories, slap it on us, teach it in the school, tell our students that that's the truth. So that today, February 17th, 2016, that if they ask you what the Caribs are or what the Garifuna people are, and you say anything beside a mix of African Arawaks and the Caribs, your answer is going to be wrong. In other words, the correct answer becomes the wrong answer because the school system is controlled by the British through the exam system that we have. And up to today, as I said to you, that's what you find in the United States, in the schools of the United States. That's what you find at the University of Belize here in Belize. That's what you find in our high school. That's what you find in the school system. That's what you find in everything. That's all the teachers know, and that's all the education system in Belize is. That is what they teach. It's time, therefore, and this park that I'm talking to you about, the Africa to America Park, deserves and is providing a more accurate narrative and story of the Garifuna people. And that's what we will continue as we continue by. I don't know how much more time we have, but let's begin with it.
We have time.
But
we have time, not a problem.
Okay. Am I clear to you, Ryan? Am I clear over there? Do you hear me well?
Nice. Very clear. Thank you to the audience for waiting patiently for you to start. Wonderful lecture. Thank you.
Okay. Now, if you could go to the first page of the African thing, of the booklet, where this begins, Origin of Man. And one of the things I say there is very, very important to remember, and we will need to understand that, and because we are going to build on it. Remember, the Europeans had started telling us that we were, evolved and we started as refugees of a shipwreck. That's what they were telling us. Now let's begin at the very beginning of humankind. The origin of man, the beginning of mankind is, let's take some scientists now. Now we are going to go into science. and leave, not to forget what I said to you about the Arawaks, the Caribs, and the sinking of the ship. Don't forget it, because it's important for you to remember that, so that you can understand the things that I'm going to point out to you now. One of the things that I state in that booklet is what big and great scientists have said. The first one, there are three of them that I mentioned, but every scientist today recognizes that and admit that. The first one is the origin of man. When we say the origin of man, where humankind developed. And his Louis Seymour Bassett Leakey. This was the man that was very, very famous for finding out about the origin of humankind. The man is a paleontologist. Paleontologist is a geologist, is a scientist who digs up ancient records, ancient bones, and from stones, rocks, and old, in other words, natural documents, let's put it that way. And he was a geologist. Geologist is a man who studies rocks and stones, and the archaeologist is a person who studies ancient cultures. And he says that humankind began in the Aldovai Gorge. Aldovai Gorge, if you can show that on the map there, it's on page, I think it's page 8, if you could.
Sure. I'm going to upload it right now.
I mean, page 10.
Okay.
On page 10. All right, there is that map in front of you, and on Africa itself, to the right side, there's a little slight line I draw there. On the east side of Africa, on the right side of Africa, it's dark, black, and it runs down. That's the Aldovai Gorge. The Aldovai Gorge, that's where humankind evolved, developed from creatures that were low creatures. Charles Darwin is another one who said basically the same thing. And Sheikh Anta Diop said the same thing, that we all, humankind, developed in that region, in that area. And it's quite important that we remember that, because we are now dealing with science, and it's no longer something that the British want to agree. And as a matter of fact, many British today have discarded, dismissed what that shipwreck thing says, to take on what we are doing here now. Now, so when we say that, therefore, that is the Aldovai Gorge, that is the beginning of mankind at the Aldovai Gorge. I just want to say that so that at least we can move away from what I had said before. Now let's go to, now we're going to start talking about the origin of Garrison, because it's important now. Two accounts of deliberate expedition. When I say deliberate expedition, I mean expedition with boats, people, leaders, sailors, etc. Left Europe. At that time, one set left Europe, the other set left Africa, to go across the Atlantic Ocean to get to what today is the Americas. And when I say Americas, I don't mean the United States. Americas is the New World, as we call it, from Canada all the way down to South America. That portion, that large thing, Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, Brazil, US, Canada, all of that make up what we know as Americas. There are two precise and deliberate accounts about the crossing of the Atlantic from the world of then. At that time, when I say world of then, at that time, the only three continents that were known was Africa, Europe, and Asia. That's all that humankind knew at that time. Okay? Then that's part of the thing that the British would say. I mean, that British would say to you, pre-history. In other words, nothing happened before that. But let's get to it and get down to the business. These people, these two expeditions was that the Africans, I'm talking about the Africans in Africa, crossed the Atlantic Ocean way, way back in history. Thousands and thousands of years. And what I have there on the PowerPoints, that the first cross-Atlantic travel was done by Africans, black people from West Africa, thousands and thousands of years into antiquity. Thousands and thousands of years. Way before the Europeans, way before the white people. Now, if we could go back to the map again and let's get to Olduvai Gorge. When you look at Olduvai Gorge, there is a strip there, a red strip from the Olduvai Gorge, and that strip goes to the west, to your left, so to speak. And there it ends up in a section of Africa which we call the Guinea Coast. Today we will say New Guinea, some of it is Zambia, some of it is Senegal, but that's where it is. That strip there indicates the migration of the Garifuna people. Okay, but before we get to that, let's go back a little bit. To the north of Africa, from Olduvai Gorge to the north of Africa, if you travel to the north of Africa, you will travel into the rest of the Africa, the Sahara Desert, and to what today is Europe. If you travel to the northeast, and southeast rather, you'll run into Asia. If you run to the east, you'll run into the Indian Ocean. If you go to the south, you'll go into the rest of Africa. If you go west, you will go to the rest of Africa till you get to what is Atlantic Ocean today. Now, I'll get back to that piece because that's the main story that we're going to deal with, but for the moment I want us to get to the Atlantic Ocean for the while. Our ancestors, more than 6,000 years ago, when they left Olduvai Gorge, they migrated across Africa. When I say migrate, they were not going anywhere in the sense that they knew what was out there, because there was nothing on the earth at that time, in the sense that there was no town, there was no city, there was no nothing. It simply was a raw earth, trees, rocks, animals, birds, etc. That's all there was. There were no countries, there were no governments, there were no other human beings. The only human beings were those that, our ancestors and Africans were the first. So they were going, and some of them went north into what today is Europe. Some of them went to the east into what today is Asia and the rest. Some of them went further south to what the rest of Africa would be. And some of them came west along that line that I have there, which is the red line from the Olduvai Gorge to the coast. And when they got to the west of that area, they ran into a huge body of water, which today we call the Atlantic Ocean. Okay? And obviously, it was going to stop them because they couldn't go any further. However, human beings being human beings, they lived there for quite some years. And our ancestors, I'm talking still about Africans yet, not Garinagu yet, not Garifuna yet, but Africans. Those were Africans. They lived there and they developed the cities, the towns, etc. And they started trading. They traded in gold. They traded in ivory. Ivory is the tusk of an elephant. They traded in quite a few other things among themselves in that area. And the rest of Africa and the rest of the world at that time too. But they couldn't continue going west till the Africans found a current, and you can see it there on the map. To the west of Africa, it's pointed out by arrows right there in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, going round and round and round. That current is what there are two portions of it. One, the bottom portion of it is the South Equatorial Current, and to the east, to the north of it is North Equatorial Current. But it goes round and round. In other words, the current is so powerful that anything that falls into that current will just go one way or the other. It will go to the Americas and come right back to Africa. The current is so powerful. And the Africans were the first, long before the Europeans, were the first to travel that. Because of the fact that they had been people that were trading in Africa itself. And they were traders, they were business people, they were in commerce. They just happened to find out about the current and they used it. And that was how our ancestors crossed the ocean. But by the time we got to the Guinea Coast, remember that what I tell you, Guinea Coast is that area where Africa meets the Pacific, the Atlantic Ocean. They couldn't quite cross that at first. However, because they were seamen, they knew to build boats, and they were very, very brave and adventurous. And perhaps by accident, I don't know, some of them might have fallen into that current, and that current would take you all the way across and come back. But we got to the Aldovai Gorge. Not Aldovai Gorge. We got to this Guinea Coast that is right there by the Atlantic Ocean, more than 6,000 years ago. That is, now we are there. We were now at the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. And our ancestors, being traders, and finding out how they found out, heaven knows, that current moves around, goes and comes. They were builders of boats. They were able to get into boats, and being adventurous, they went around, and they landed in the Americas and found the people there. And when they found those people, they traded with them. They took from Africa gold, salt, cloth, and various other things, and traded with the people in the Americas, and they pick up what they found in the Americas, sometimes bird feathers, sometimes food that they wouldn't have in Africa. In other words, they started trading. They go there, pick up what they wanted to pick up, and come back and sell it to the African people, and they take things from Africa and take it over there to sell. And that began a trade and a commerce between the Africans, these are still Africans yet, and the Americans. Now, that took thousands and thousands and thousands of years. That was the first crossing of the Atlantic. It was crossed by Africans, those who were new to sail, those who knew to build ships and everything else. And those who crossed the Atlantic selling things, those who traded in gold, those who traded in cloth, in salt, ivory, and everything else, started being called those who traffic in gold. That was the first name. And the word Garifuna, means, it's a Mande language, it's in Mande, that is in the language of the Mande people. The word Garifuna means those who traffic in gold. So that Garifuna means those who traffic in gold. That's how we got our name. Because yes, we trafficked in gold, and we accepted the name, and up to today, we keep our name Garifuna, even though we don't have, the things have changed so that we are not trafficking gold, but the name remains. And we are Garina, and that's how the word Garifuna came about. The word Garifuna means those who traffic in gold. Our ancestors have been doing that for a long, long time, at least 6,000 years before Columbus came about. And when Columbus came and found out about that trade and traffic, and the other Europeans got to know about that trade and traffic, they wanted to be a part of it also. And Christopher Columbus was led by Africans from Europe. He started in Europe, of course, came down, followed the route that the Africans had, and that is how Columbus discovered. That is how Columbus landed in the Americas. But by the time he got to Americas, the blacks had been there for thousands and thousands of years, and the natives of the America told Columbus just that he didn't find anything. He followed people into a place that they had found. That was done by us Garifuna people. Our ancestors, the Garino, found the way to get to the Americas, and they got to Americas. And that is how we got to know about the Americas. It's not because the Europeans taught us. We taught them about the Americas. Now, so the two things, therefore. The first deliberate expedition across the Atlantic Ocean from the world of then, that is Europe, Asia, and Africa. The first expedition, the first crossing of the Atlantic Ocean was by Africans, black Africans. And because they traffic in gold, and because they crossed the Atlantic, the word Garifuna, they were pegged with the name of gold. It's just like, let's say, for instance, a person who sells in a store. You own a store and they call you storekeeper. If you make gold, they call you gold maker. If you build boats, they call you boat builder. The Garifuna people traded, and they were called traders. But in traders in what? They traded gold. That's how we got our name, and that's what we were. But long after that, the Emperor of Mali, at that time Mali was the most advanced civilization in the world at that time. It was the largest empire in the world at that time. The richest empire in the world, and the largest empire in the world, and the most powerful empire in the world. The guy's name is Abu Bakari II. When Abu Bakari II knew of those expeditions, and the people who led those expeditions were the Garifuna people, they had already named them. He took Garifuna people into his offices and everything else, had them build the boats, had them sail the boats, and eventually he took part in that trading also. But the thing about Abu Bakari was he was an explorer. He was an expeditioner, and he wanted to see what was on the other side of this great big body of water that we now call Atlantic Ocean. And he went with them. They made 2 trips. The first trip, they didn't come back. That was about 400 boats. 200 boats with food and 200 boats with people. They crossed the Atlantic and never came back. And Abu Bakari did not give up. He's been built even a bigger expedition. This time with 2,000 boats, 1,000 boats full of merchandise to go sell, and the other time in 1,000 boats full of human beings, people. And he too, Abu Bakari II, crossed the Atlantic with his people. And he never came back either. He never came back. People would want to think that he drowned, they didn't survive. No. They survived because we survived. We landed there, we traded, we would go back and forth, but we started saying, many of us started staying. And that's how we became and lived here in the Americas, so that when we came to the Americas, we used and traded all over South America, what today is Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela. In Panama, our ancestors stayed there for quite some time. As a matter of fact, many of the archives and the things in Panama are named after the Mande people or after the Mandinga people. We, by the way, are a Mandinga people. We, Garino, are a Mandinga people. Africans. Black and proud too. So that's what we are, that's what we did. And when we got there, we stayed. So that 1492, more than 6,000 years after we had crossed the Atlantic Ocean, Christopher Columbus was led by Africans to the Americas. And that's how the Europeans got to Americas and got to know about it. That's the two portions of this story that we are going to do today. So that in 1492, by the time Columbus crossed the Atlantic had been crossed by Abu Bakr II more than 524 years before. But that Atlantic Ocean had been crossed by our ancestors for more than 6,000 years before. So Columbus discovered nothing, and we taught them how to cross the Atlantic because we were sailors, we were seamen, we knew to build boats, we knew to travel the ocean and cross the ocean. That's Garifuna. That's our ancestors. That's what we are. Let's stop there for today, and there is a lot more to speak about, but I think, Ron, tell me if you think we should stop there for today.
Yes, Doctor. Excellent lecture. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to learn. And a lot of people who are listening online, let's be open-minded and let's hear to the doctor. He has done his research. He's traveled to Africa. And so I hope that more people are able to tune in every Wednesday. And if you do miss the lecture today, don't worry about it. We are recording it, and we're going to be archiving today's lesson, number 1, on YouTube GAFU channel. GAFU would be GAHFU, GAFU channel on YouTube. So thank you so much, Doctor. Anything else you would like to say before we close the first lecture, the first lesson today?
Maybe there might be somebody who wants to ask a question. If a person wants to ask a question, maybe this is a good time to ask it. Otherwise, we'll wait till maybe next week when we continue the second one. But this is where I think we ought to stop. Otherwise, when we give too much information at any one time, people tend to forget a lot of it. So we need to have them, sort of munch what we have, chew what we have given to them tonight. And let us review it just briefly. The Garifuna people, who they are Africans. Where they came from Africa. How did they arrive in the Americas? They crossed the Atlantic Ocean. 1. Second, we were told by the British that the origin of the Garifuna people was in a shipwreck, and that we were a mix of Arawaks and Arawaks and Caribs. You can drop that and push it back and then put it in the garbage can right now, because that's not the case. We are going to begin now, and we are going to continue with our story and with the story of the Garifuna people. And the third piece that I mentioned was that humankind began in the Aldeby Gorge, and this has been accepted and stated by scientists, and everybody knows that today. Third, the black people of Africa, not discovered, but crossed the Atlantic long before Columbus. And they were selling gold, and the meaning of the word, they were called those who traffic in gold, and they called the word, those who traffic in gold is a Mandinga word. And it means those who traffic in gold. That's the meaning of the word Garifuna. So it's not simply a word that you just make up, so to speak. It's just like, let me give you an example of what I mean. All right, if you were to see a chicken, and you tell me what that animal is, and I tell you it's a chicken, and you ask me what a chicken is, I will tell you a chicken is a feathered animal with two legs and clack, 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 clack. That's a chicken. All right, the Garifuna person are a black African people who cross the Atlantic, who trade in gold, and do all those things that we are talking about. So Garifuna means those who traffic in gold. Christopher Columbus, the white European who came afterwards, came way, way after us. And we don't say that we discovered the Americas. We crossed the Atlantic. That's what I would say. We were the first to do so, long before the Europeans, long before Christopher Columbus. That's as far as we go today. And if there's any question from anybody else,
yes,
I'd be
Doctor,
more than happy
what we're gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
Doctor, is we're gonna take the questions online, and then we will send them to you via email, so you could answer the questions next week, Wednesday.
All right, excellent. That would be fantastic.
Yes. Thank you so much. Good evening, Surusia Theodore Aranda, and thank you for the great lecture. And we'll see you next week on time this time. Since I want to mention that we had a lecture at UCLA, and we were unable to make it here on time because of the rain and so much traffic in the city of Los Angeles. But it's beautiful that we were able to start the class, even though it was late. But we're here, and we're providing this as a free service to the community. Thank you so much, Surusia.
Okay, Ron. Thank you very, very much, and I'll be ready for next week.
All right. Good night. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Serene, ya.
Adiós.
Serene, dile mego di más.
Garifuna American Heritage Foundation United proudly presents the Clifford J. Palacio Garifuna Language and Culture Academy online. It's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, through www.lmbroos.com in the Bronx, New York, and www.radiocentroamerica.com in Los Angeles. Classes are free and for the entire family. Download the homework or handout from Facebook's Garifuna Language and Culture Academy page, or from www.garifunaheritagefoundation.org. All radio programs will be recorded and archived on YouTube's GAFU channel for on-demand listening. This project is made possible in part by a grant from the Alliance for California Traditional Arts in partnership with the Walter and Elise Haas Fund and the William and Flora Hewitt and the James Irvine Foundation. We thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It was a wonderful lecture, and we're going to see if we could connect with Budari Palacios tonight for the weekly report online. So hopefully she will be able to answer the phone call tonight. Okay, so here is the introduction. Ok, familia, ahora nos vamos hasta Nueva York con Budari Palacios de Budari Dance Company, con lo más reciente de lo que sucede en el ambiente social de la comunidad más grande fuera de Centroamérica, de Garifuna. Adelante, Budari Palacios, con tu reporte semanal. Llámate a... Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go live and direct. Nos vamos en vivo hasta Nueva York para el reporte semanal con Budari Palacios. We do a weekly update all the way from New York to see what's going on in the Garifuna community, which happens to be the biggest outside of Central America, with our weekly report with Budari Palacios from Budari Dance Company. Así que, bienvenida Budari esta noche, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, mis amores. ¿Qué tal? ¡Qué alegría! ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están? Bueno, aquí estamos, como siempre, en Nueva York con un tremendo frío, unas temperaturas que para qué les cuento. Pero bueno, así es Nueva York y tenemos que de una u otra manera acoplarnos a esa temperatura.
Claro que sí, claro que sí. Gracias, Budari, por comprendernos. Realmente el día de hoy fue una tremenda confusión porque tuvimos una clase en la Universidad de UCLA y estaba lloviendo aquí. Nos tuvimos que venir contra el tráfico, más de 2 horas de camino y llegamos tarde. Empezamos el programa media hora tarde, así es de que ya dejemos de tanta explicación y vamos con el reporte semanal con Budari Palacios.
Ok, mis amores. Bueno, pues les estoy informando. Hay algo que está pasando que me está gustando mucho. Lo estoy viendo con la comunidad garífuna de Bajamar y ahora la comunidad garífuna de San Juan Tela de Honduras. Los muchachos de las comunidades están haciendo pequeñas organizaciones, que estas organizaciones están ayudando a los proyectos de cada comunidad garífuna en Honduras. Entonces, quiero mandarle un gran saludo a lo que es la comunidad garífuna de San Juan Tela, porque hay una organización de los muchachos jóvenes, se llama Nibura y Tiña. Entonces ellos están haciendo eventos para recaudar fondos para ayudar a los niños de San Juan. En lo cual, este 27 de febrero, ellos en Casa Yurumey van a tener un Hututu Party, ¿verdad? Va a comenzar desde las 12 de la mediodía en adelante. Esto va a ser en Casa Yurumey, en el 874 de Prospect Avenue. Pueden coger lo que es el tren 2 y el 5 hasta Prospect. El valor del plato, pues, va a haber, cuesta $15. Van a haber tambores, va a haber algo típico. Y lo más importante de esto es que los fondos van a ser enviados para el jardín de niños de la comunidad garífuna de San Juan. También está lo que es el patronato premejoramiento de San Juan. Ellos van a tener una gira a Atlantic City. Esto será el domingo, marzo 13, saliendo de la 170 y Washington. Eso queda en el Bronx, ¿verdad? Los viajes de Atlantic City, tú das una cantidad de dinero y ellos te devuelven otra. Entonces, el boleto cuesta $40, pero el patronato les va a devolver $25. Por favor, si alguien está interesado en ir a este viaje de Atlantic City, pueden llamar al 347-284-8722 o al 1646-938-0343. Es muy importante que apoyemos a los proyectos que de una u otra manera van a tener beneficios para nuestras comunidades garífunas, tanto en Honduras o en Guatemala, donde estén situadas, y también en lo que es en los Estados Unidos. También tenemos un muchacho muy talentoso que él se llama Mariano Martínez, ¿verdad? Él tiene lo que se llama J-Dove Dance Academy. Él también va a tener un evento lo que es el sábado, febrero 27, de 2:30 a 5 p.m. de la tarde. Eso va a estar refiriendo a lo que es refiriendo al Black History y toda esta situación. También él va a presentar, él tiene como un equipo de muchachos a los cuales él les enseña a bailar, les da coreografías, muy talentoso, y también va a estar lo que es el grupo Jamala Liguayunago y van a tener más sorpresas. Entonces la dirección es Frederick Douglass Academy. Esto está en el 3630 de Thor Avenue y la 169 Street. Así que vamos a ir, vamos a apoyar a la gente de San Juan, y después, pues, después de comer un buen plato de judutu, vamos a ir a bailar.
¡Ay, qué rico, qué rico! ¡Qué rico!
Ajá. Mis amores, todos los años Casa Yurumey hace lo que es Miss Garífuna 2014, Miss Garífuna 2015. Bueno, pues ya toca lo que es Miss Garífuna 2016. Son diferentes muchachas que están representando diferentes comunidades garífunas, por el cual ellas compiten porque solamente pueden elegir a una, que es la reina garífuna. Entonces, Casa Yurumey ya comenzó este proyecto, ¿verdad? Entonces, ellos, Casa Yurumey, van a tener lo que es yo creo que ella es el número 10. Oigan bien, ella es el número 10 de ahora del 2016. Entonces, ellos hacen primero una presentación de las Misses, y después al siguiente mes es donde ya viene la competencia de quién canta mejor, o que quién hace mejor las actividades que le toque, y lo que es la reina. Entonces, el primero donde van a enseñar a mi garífuna va a ser el sábado, marzo 5, ¿verdad? Esto va a ser en la escuela PS 76 y 220 West y la 121 Street. Lo voy a repetir. Es en la PS 76, 220 West en 121 Street. Pueden coger lo que es el tren 2 hasta la 125. La donación va a ser $10 la entrada. Pueden llamar al 718-213-5439 o al 347-324-6197. Ya saben, mis amores, viene lo que son los premios Garífuna. Será este 12 de marzo en Hostos Community College. Ahorita, bueno, pues ya pueden ya pueden ir comprando sus tickets en lo que pueden entrar al correo de garifunaafrolatino.com y ahí ellos, ustedes van a ver toda la información de los tickets, porque está lo que es la premiación de los artistas en Hostos y después de ahí está lo que es el evento de la fiesta de gala. Entonces son dos diferentes eventos en los cuales ustedes pueden entrar, les repito, garifunaafrolatino.com y comprar sus tickets para el evento de Hostos y para lo que es la gran fiesta que se va a hacer. Mis amores, la temperatura, ¿cómo la tenemos por allá?
Aquí es súper rico el clima, Budari. Aquí está lloviendo y está muy fresco, no está frío, pero está lluvioso, así de que no nos podemos quejar porque necesitamos el agua.
Claro que sí, el agua es muy importante, mis amores. Quiero mandarle un especial saludo a toda mi gente que están escuchándome allá en Honduras. Siempre pasan pendientes de los horarios, pero bueno, queremos decirles de que lo importante es que estamos aquí al pie del cañón, siempre reportándole a ustedes. Y una de las cosas que yo siempre le digo a la gente, que no se dejen engañar por lo que muchos van de los Estados Unidos a nuestros países a venderle sueños a la gente. No, mis amores, aquí en Gringolandia la cosa es dura, aquí no hay nada gratis, aquí hasta las miradas se pagan, como se dice por allá. Nosotros aquí en Nueva York tenemos que salir a grandes temperaturas de frío, levantarnos a veces hasta las 5 de la mañana para poder ir a trabajar y ganarse uno para el mínimo verde o la sopa de frijoles. Así que todo aquel que va a venir a los Estados Unidos, pues tiene que concientizarse a lo que viene. Aquí la vida no es fácil, la única diferencia es que son dólares. Ahí sí que no vamos a negarlo, ¿verdad?
Sí, es cierto, claro, totalmente de acuerdo contigo. De hecho, fíjate que hay un jovencito que está en una cárcel allá en Phoenix, Arizona, que es hondureño y es garífuna. Es de apellido Mejía, Diego Mejía creo que es, o no estoy seguro de apellido, Jorge Mejía, y nos escribió una carta aquí a GAFU solicitándonos una ayuda económica para poder sacarlo de la cárcel porque a él lo agarraron tratando de pasar a este país ilegalmente. Ha estado preso ya bajo ICE, que lo tiene como prisionero, ¿no? Ya casi 2 años. Y él quiere que se le ayude a pagarle la fianza para poder salir. Y aunque sea liberado, pues siempre va a salir, pero va a tener una grilleta en las piernas.
Un grillete.
Un grillete. Para que lo controlen a dónde va a ir. Así es de que es muy triste, esto es duro. Pero vamos a ver cómo tratamos de ayudar a este jovencito de apellido Mejía, que está prisionero ahí en Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, wow, bueno, sería bueno que pasen la información para aquí, para Nueva York, para que nosotros empecemos a hacer bulla y ver quiénes nos pueden ayudar para recaudar fondos para ayudar a lo que es el hermano Jorge Mejía, ¿por qué no? ¿Verdad? Es muy importante, la verdad que cuando uno cruza ese río ya es otra la historia en este país. Bueno, mis amores, Trujillo FC les presenta, ¿verdad? El grupo de fútbol, me parece que el grupo de fútbol van a tener un party en Managuayabo Club, eso es aquí por Prospect también. Esto va a ser en el 914 de Prospect Avenue y la 172. Eso va a ser lo que es en el 3er piso. Va a estar Bodoma, va a estar Billy Boy, DJ Dino, DJ Melvin, DJ King. Olvídense, aquí en Nueva York hay muchos DJs. Esto va a ser marzo 10 del 2016. Así que miren, Nueva York no descansa. Nueva York está con los ojos abiertos 24 horas a la semana. Aquí las fiestas, lo que es viernes, sábado y domingo, aquí siempre Nueva York está activado, mis amores. Bueno, y también le invito pues a todos aquellos que nos están escuchando, pues que nos manden la información de sus eventos, no importa si están ahí en Guatemala, en Belice, en Honduras, Nicaragua, mándenos sus eventos y nosotros pues los vamos a promocionar. Y como siempre les digo, ustedes no tienen que pagar absolutamente nada, porque ese es un trabajo comunitario que nosotros estamos haciendo. Así que, mis amores, pues les deseo siempre mucha suerte por allá. Y bueno, siempre se dan cositas y lo más importante es que hagamos las cositas para un lado y seguir con los proyectos. No cabe duda, tengo que mandarle un gran saludo a la comunidad garífuna de Bajamar y sus jóvenes que también están haciendo proyectos aquí en Nueva York para recaudar fondos para la comunidad garífuna de Bajamar. Eso es la verdad que es bien admirable, que los jóvenes están buscando la manera de cómo ayudar a su gente que dejan ahí en su tierra. Les quiero invitar también, lo que es el patronato de Bajamar en Nueva York les presenta una gran fiesta de gala que ya lo he estado mencionando anteriormente. Esto va a ser en Maestros Cattery, que eso queda en el 1703 de Bonsall Avenue, ¿verdad? Está incluida la comida, la bebida y el parking. Eso va a ser sábado, lo que es el sábado 27, ya veo que hay como 3 eventos, pero bueno, hay que dividirse entre 3 para ver cómo pudimos apoyar y acudir a los eventos. Este evento va a ser de las 10 de la noche hasta las 3 de la mañana, ¿verdad? Hay que ir vestido formalmente. Antes del lo que es el 27 de febrero, pues la entrada va a costar 90 el ticket. Y si no compraron sus tiempos a tiempo, pues entonces les va a costar lo que es $100 ya en la puerta. Pueden llamar a Fran al 347-209-9216 o a Lucy al 347-835-7817. Mis amores, este ha sido mi reporte desde Nueva York. Así que lo que es el mes de febrero y marzo ya está fiestas habidas y por haber. Y pues ya pronto vamos a tener lo que es abril, que abril es el mes donde la comunidad garífuna empieza también lo que es la alegría de la llegada de nuestros ancestros. Bueno, mis amores, me encanta siempre ser parte de su familia. Y pues este ha sido mi reportaje por esta noche.
Gracias, Budari, gracias por tremendo reportaje y mil disculpas por tenerte tan tarde porque ya es la medianoche allá en Nueva York. Un minuto, ya está pasado ya de la medianoche, así es de que mil disculpas, pero primero Dios, este miércoles entrante empezamos a tiempo. Te vamos a llamar a las 6:30, 6:45 hora de Los Ángeles. Serían como las 9:30, 9:45 hora de Nueva York. Así es que muchas gracias, felicidades y un abrazo muy fuerte para Budari Dance Company, a cada uno de los miembros.
Gracias, mis amores, gracias. Estamos a la orden. Buitiguño, se les quiere mucho y siempre para adelante, mi gente.
Buitiguño, ayo.
Ayo, Buitiguño.
Hola, mi celuma. Hola, mi celuma. Bayanu Hanuma.
On behalf of Garifuna American Heritage Foundation, we thank you for joining us tonight to the Clifford J. Palacio Garifuna Language and Culture Academy online. Don't forget, tune in every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time through www.lmbroots.com in the Bronx and www.radiocentroamerica.com in Los Angeles. Classes are free and for the entire family. Download the homework or the handout from our Facebook's Garifuna Language and Culture Academy page or from www.garifunaheritagefoundation.org. All radio shows are recorded or archived for your online demand. So you can find it on YouTube's Gafu channel anytime, 24/7. This project is made possible in part by a grant from the Alliance for California Traditional Arts in partnership with the Walter and Elise Haas Fund, the William and Flora Hewitt and the James Irvine Foundation.
Giga bonito, giga bonate, giga bo mama, giga bo dada. Hanumada kuno, hanu
You are cordially invited to attend the 5th Annual Garifuna International Indigenous Film Festival, May 26th through the 30th, 2016, Garifuna International Indigenous Film Festival. Location, 1416 Electric Avenue, Venice, California, at the Electric Lodge. Join us in celebrating indigenous cultures at the 5th Annual Garifuna International Film Festival. For more information, visit www.garifunafilmfestival.com. Honor, respect indigenous cultures. Join us celebrating indigenous cultures.
Mwate ya hamananigo side Umalani Studio. Yes indeed, Los Angeles myself. Yeah, great beat. Yes indeed. Give it along. Aha, 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 aha. What the Galicia? Kimalo! Nubuya bude metina, lida bohule. Nubuya bude metina, lida bohule. Yeah. Anna megia, saminara, lida luba menito, ibagare. Anna megia, saminara, lida luba menito. Nubuya bude metina, lida bohule. Nubuya bude metina, lida bohule. Yeah. Anna megia, saminara, lida luba menito, ibagare. Anna megia, saminara, lida luba menito. Watu Galicia, Dangrigana, Indurana, La Bugana.